Hi.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi, this is Linda.
Yes. Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. So it's just you and I, though Janice is on her way in, I can see. Yeah.
Everyone, I keep reading that people can hardly wait for 2020 to be over. And I guess I don't see the joy in that because the mess is just going to continue.
I know, it's not like some crazy thing's going to snap it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, Joanne's here and Susan and Janice. I think. Well, Susan's not quite here yet. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Confusing because each Zoom group I'm in, when I get in, it's a different settings that I have to do.
Oh.
Like, oh, I have to do this one, here and to get my video up. It's not automatic every time, so it's confusing to me.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Oh, there you are. So everybody's here.
Is Susan here? I know
Yes,
she's
she is.
coming.
You can see this phone.
Where?
Can you see a phone on your screen? If you have gallery view.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was in gallery view. Well, I'm glad she's here. I can't see the phone.
Oh,
I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Susan.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, it says
There she is.
non-video participants.
I wonder, oh, you know what? I can fix it.
Uh-huh.
I can put Susan G. How about that?
Hasn't changed. There he goes.
Oh, up the top. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, before we start the official meeting, I just want to congratulate Susan Millinger on being elected to the League of Women Voters Board. Is that right?
The state board. Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
It happened in June.
I saw. Oh, okay. I just saw it in the newspaper a while ago. I guess there was a lag time, but congratulations on that.
Oh yeah. No, thank you, Joanne. It's quite interesting. It's also a lot of work.
Yeah. I imagine. Okay. Shall we call the meeting to order?
Sounds good.
And
I have 5:32.
5:32.
Yep.
Okay, and the first order of business is to consider the minutes that Susan gave us the amended copy of today.
Do we have to do a roll call present thing?
Yes,
Do we?
Sure.
yes, we do.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Joanne Bernhardt here.
Linda Avis Scott here.
Janice Gray here.
Susan Millinger here.
Susan Gomberg here.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so to consider the minutes, the amended minutes that Susan Milliner gave us today.
Yep.
Does
So I'll
anyone have any
make a
questions?
motion to approve the 10-14-20 minutes as presented.
I second it.
Is there a
Colin?
discussion? This is Janice, because I think Susan wanted a little more clarification about something.
Well, I sent around the question to you about what I should do when we have one topic that gets interrupted by a second topic. And ordinarily, I don't know if you know this, but ordinarily if we have a main discussion about something and then there's another piece later on, I stick them all together because they're all on the same topic. And ordinarily I would have done that with this, but because it was recorded, I thought I should follow the recording.
I think you did an admirable job.
Yep.
It's not at all hard to follow the threads. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and specifically in this case because it was a financial decision and the interim piece, was relevant, and yeah, and the minutes, we have the recording, but the minutes, are the minutes, and they can be what makes sense.
Oh,
That
okay, good.
reflects the
Thank you.
content of the meeting and the decisions that are made.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and then I wanted to throw out a discussion, which we just had.
Yep.
So
We're ready to roll call vote.
Mhm.
Janice Gray, aye.
Joanne Bernhardt, aye.
Susan Millinger, aye.
Susan Gomberg, aye.
And Linda Avis Scott, aye.
Okay. Next item is the EOEA grant update. After having communicated with Emmett Schwartzow, who was the person who deals with our little towns and the grants, and he was extremely helpful. And then when I went to submit it, it turned out that he had retired.
Oh dear.
So there, luckily I found in his email response to me, he had copied in the person who's taking over. So I contacted that person who was very helpful. And I submitted the worksheet to Becky for her approval and followed up with a phone call, and everything was okay with her. And so I submitted it to EOEA, to the new person. And that's all we have to do for now until they release the contract, which will go directly to Becky, I believe, and has to be signed by the select board. And that's the piece saying that we're going to get the $6,000 that our town has to sign off on. And I think that's the end of it for this year.
So can I just ask for quick clarification? This is Susan Millinger. So Joanne, you had preliminary discussions with a gentleman who was in charge. Is that correct?
Trying to make sure that the new format, which was sent to Becky and Becky forwarded it to Linda, that the new format, which I went through a different channel and found through this person who retired, was in fact the one that we needed to work on for this year. That was the one I reported on in the last meeting, where the format had changed and the things they were collecting had changed.
Mm-hmm.
which makes it kind of easier for us in the long run if that stays the same.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Joanne, for all of your work.
Well, it won't be as hard next time.
Yeah, yeah, but it's done.
It's done.
Yeah,
And
we
Becky,
did.
I must say, Becky was actually fine with our having done it. She just wanted to make sure that we had, you know, crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. So it relieves her of some task that she has to do otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, which is wrangle the information from us. So
Well, right. And in view of everything else that's going on, town hall being closed and, you know, people working in isolation, it was probably a relief to her not to have to deal with it. So
yeah,
that was a good thing.
yeah,
So thank you all for marking down all your little hours and coming through with all the different pieces. Okay, foot clinic update.
I had a
Are we done with
conversation.
that topic? Does anyone have any more questions on the grant?
no,
Okay.
thank you.
This is Susan G. I had a conversation with Sue Miller of the Foot Clinic. Nothing new. She just, again, was wondering when Town Hall would open. But that was that. Checking in with her on one of our Foot Clinic members who I didn't think had any services and really needed them but had no money, had actually had an appointment in August. And then leading into a discussion, he had made a follow-up appointment for December 9th today because we didn't have a meeting in November. Do we continue the subsidies for December and January is the question.
I
Because
thought
right
we had
now we-
decided to continue.
On a 2-month
You froze,
basis.
Joanne.
Ah, I thought we had decided to continue through December. Am I right? Am I remembering
Oh,
that?
if you know, as you say that, yes, you're right. And the November was we would discuss in November just to see how things were going.
Yeah.
Which is why I had November in my head. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
And
Okay.
yeah, and continuing through this month, but we might want to, you know, think ahead a little bit. If it's helpful, I can tell you that I know we have the financial update is next, but since the most of the financial update is Foot Clinic, I can tell you that since the beginning of the fiscal year, we have spent $805. Of that $805, okay, of that $805, all of it was Foot Clinic, with the exception of $220 that went towards one of the fitness classes. We know that Marianne asked for $1,855, but that will be, invoices will be submitted as the month, you know, when a month ends, we can't prepay for classes. So we had, let's see, we had $30 in July, $165 in August, $120 in September, $180 in October, and $90 in November. So far, since the price increase from For Care by Nurses, 2 people asked, you know, contributed $30, so received a $60, you know, copay, if you will, from us. Um, So we have at this point, prior to receiving our FY21 grant, we have a balance of $2,179.34
Okay.
in our account.
Mhm.
I just wanted to say that in advance of deciding what we want to do about the foot clinic. And I can tell you that there's no, town hall won't be reopening to the public for the foreseeable future.
Mhm. So does that even out to about $150 a month?
Well, probably. It ranges from 30 to 160, 180.
What's the, that's,
117 a month by my arithmetic, which may or may not be correct,
okay.
Okay,
is
thanks,
the average.
Mhm.
thanks.
Okay. So can we go ahead, do we want to go ahead on a 2-month by 2-month basis? So go ahead and approve for January, February? Or further? What do people think? Sue Gomberg, what do you think?
I think either 2 months or 3 months,
Mhm, mhm.
since we don't have to worry about driving in snow to the town hall. Supposedly we can have meetings like this.
Mhm.
So I think either one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either one, yeah.
Yeah, I think at this point it makes sense to do January, February, and March. And yeah, because we don't know. And if something changes, then okay. But at least we've made the decision. And anybody else?
That sounds like a good idea.
Janice
So I'll
says,
send
sounds
out,
good.
I'll set up an email basically saying this. I'll just rewrite the one that I had done before to everybody and just change the months.
Okay.
And we can go from there.
And well, I guess we do need to take a vote. So I'll make a motion that we continue the foot clinic subsidies of, as we had been. So if individuals contribute $60, we would pay the balance of $30. If they contribute $30 or less, then we would contribute the balance for January, February, and March 2021.
Second. Roll call vote. Joanne Bernhardt, aye.
Janice Gray, aye.
Susan Millinger, aye.
And Gomberg, aye.
And Davis Scott, aye.
The only other odd bit in talking with Sue Miller is that our one client, the lady from Amherst that got in our mix when David Dan was here, did say to Sue Miller that whenever the town hall is back open again, she wants to continue with foot care treatment every month, 1 month in the town hall and 1 month in her house. I'm making the assumption, and if it ever does come up again, that the 1 month in her house she would pay totally on her own without a subsidy. Does that seem reasonable? Since, according to the nurse, she does not need every month care.
Right. And
Oh, yeah, wow.
and our policy prior to COVID and the home visits because of the pandemic was that we would help subsidize home visits for homebound people. We did have a couple of people who were homebound and would occasionally have have an appointment, and
Right. She
that
is not homebound.
would come
right.
through our foot clinic.
Right. Yeah.
Coordinator.
She is not homebound.
Correct.
May I ask what the situation is in Amherst?
I don't think it's, I don't know. You mean with their foot clinic seeing people? I don't know. But I know that she ended up in Shutesbury originally 2 or 3 years ago because she could not get an appointment in Amherst at the senior center foot clinic in Amherst.
I'm wondering if we want to revisit that at this point. Yeah, I'm imagining that Amherst is kind of shut down too, in
Yeah.
terms of is there a senior center at the Bank Center?
Yep.
It is.
Yeah. Susan Gomberg, can you find out
Yeah,
what they're doing with their foot clinic there? Maybe
I
we
can do
need to
that.
refer her back. Because at the point where we're subsidizing things a lot more heavily than we were before, when the town hall was open and people were coming in, I think the funding should primarily go to Shutesbury residents.
I agree.
Janice Gray agrees.
I agree.
It's a good point.
So I'll try to find out what the Amherst Senior or Council on Aging is doing regarding foot clinic services, and we can talk about that at the next meeting.
Okay.
I guess for a while I have kind of wondered about keeping her on the Shutesbury roll, but here we are.
Yeah.
What is Wendell doing?
Wendell is having their monthly foot clinic in a church, which
Right.
is where I believe it's a church, which is where they've always had it. Sue Miller cleans everything up between patients, but I think they only see 4 people a month. It's smaller than ours.
That's where Chris Foote got the idea that we could do it here in our church.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was New Salem that was doing it.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I apologize if I got New Salem and
Yeah, I could-
mixed up.
Yeah, I guess I'm not 100% sure it's Wendell.
Yeah.
Does Wendell's,
think
does
Wendell
Wendell's
didn't actually-
church function? I don't think it does.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
New Salem that is the one, but anyway.
I believe that Wendell did not go forward opening up their clinic inside anything, so they would be doing home visits if that's what they're doing. I can check with Sue Miller on that also, because she sees the people in Wendell and she sees the people in New Salem.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Sure.
Thanks.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I have a question. If we received an inquiry for a new person, and I know our policy to this point has been only existing clients.
Have we received one?
No. No, but it's crossed my mind.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it now. I mean, it just
This is Janice, and it crossed my mind because this was all like, oh, this is just going to be a short-term issue. And now it doesn't seem quite fair somehow.
yeah. I think
keep
we
on
had
with
one
the-
early on, Susan Gomberg. Didn't we have one early on? A
Say it
person
again?
wasn't there a person early on when we went to the home visit format? I thought there was one person who asked about having an appointment and they weren't an established client.
Yes, there was one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we haven't had any other inquiries on the phone or email. It just passed, I just have thought of it. So anyway.
But I shared Janice's thought, and it's something I think I brought up before, that we are subsidizing a real limited amount of Shutesbury seniors.
Yeah.
But what as has been brought up, aside from kicking in for library programs, what else are we doing?
Mhm.
Right. Right. You
I
know,
suppose we
so
could, at some point, perhaps we could just, stop the subsidy. Just throwing that out for something to think about.
This is Susan Millinger, but right now, when we don't have that many programs that we can run, it seems worthwhile to support it, which doesn't it?
it does to me, because we're not doing anything else, and we out of the last 5 months, we've had two, it was, I want to go back to when we were having the in-person foot clinic. There would be months when we might subsidize $90, from a full clinic, depending on who were the participants and their ability to contribute a donation. So anyway, I don't know how we would go about, letting folks know that new people could ask. I don't even know if Sue Miller has the capacity to take on more people.
But she's not the only one. Some of the people, she checked her records, and some people in Shutesbury from our clinic are seeing other foot care nurses.
From foot
In
care,
their home.
from the same company, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so we're getting billed, right, okay, yeah. So what we've been receiving invoices for is the total.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which in November there were 3 people, in October there were 4, in September there were 4, and unfortunately I didn't jot down the numbers for August and July. So anyway,
So just to double check, that we're going to continue the subsidy January, February, and March, correct?
Mhm.
yes,
Yes, you can't see us nodding.
Yes.
yes, yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
wrote it down just to be sure. Just wanted to check. Thank you.
Yeah. And I will let Vanessa Eastman, the billing person at Foot Care, know.
Okay,
as
thank
well.
you.
So this is Millinger. So are we going to consider opening it up to new participants? Is that going to be a topic that we might discuss in future?
Want to carry it over to the next meeting?
Yes,
Janice was thinking that.
but I'd like to see us discuss it.
Okay. And are we good with carrying it over?
Sure.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, so are we done with this topic and can we move on?
I'm
I'm
good.
done.
Okay, so Linda, you were giving a financial update already?
Yes. Done.
Okay.
That's all I have, other than to say that we do have $200 in our town expense line.
Mhm.
For
And what was the total again, please?
in our grant balance is $2,179.34.
Okay.
So though we did have village neighbors request, as well under financial update. And I do want to say that I noticed when I was in town hall in the last month or 2 months, within the last couple of months, I've looked in our COA mailbox and found that we had received a letter dated October 7th from Donald Stone, treasurer of Village Neighbors, Inc. And he wrote to Joanne and I as co-chairs. And if it's okay, I'll just read it. It's not too long. On behalf of the Village Neighbors Board of Directors, thank you and the Shutesbury Council on Aging for your beneficial decision on September 9, 2020 to transfer $900 from your Aging in Place Task Force account to Village Neighbors, Inc. I will be looking for your check in the mail and confirm receipt as soon as it arrives. Presumably it arrived. We very much appreciate the support from the Shutesbury COA, for it helps us fulfill our mission to serve elders in Shutesbury, Leverett, New Salem, and Wendell, to live independently and well in their homes. We feel very much in partnership with our local COAs, sharing as we do common goals and target audience. We hope the Commonwealth funding for COAs continues at the current level, for continuing financial support from our local COAs is vital to our financial sustainability, especially since moving from fee-based membership to providing free memberships to over 60 citizens in our 4 towns. So it's a thank you note, also a request for more support.
Well, I think I remember when I first came on the Council on Aging, was that the year when we spent everything down to the last penny on our programming?
Yes, that was that was with our dear David. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So thinking that it's possible when, if and when things go back to normal, there are opportunities for us to spend most of our grant request or our grant funding. I would think that we could give Village Neighbors $500 a year. I think that's what Nancy Spittle in Wendell is doing, and she's, a member of Village Neighbors and an advocate. I know they asked for 1,000. I think that's too much, considering what we might do later on when we get going again. So that's my perspective.
Millinger here, I agree with Joanne.
Yeah,
I mean,
agrees too.
Gomberg, I agree too.
I agree. If we anticipate that our, budget, if you will, is $6,000, to give 1/6 to Village Neighbors is a lot. No.
Now, some of this may depend on the 2020 census, because the grants, the EOEA grants, are based on the number of seniors right now from the 2010 census. And we know that we have increased the number of seniors. It will depend on what that number becomes in the 2020 census and how we then figure into the whole hierarchy of funding from the state. We may end up getting more if we have a lot more seniors, and we may have a lot more seniors. But I don't think that we can count on that at this point.
Right.
Especially with the state financial situation, which I think they're kind of level funding for this year, but it may not happen for next year if the dire situation continues with the need for a lot of special funding for the COVID relief.
Yeah.
So,
And EOEA may go back to the prior practice of, that the next grant would equal, they'd be factoring in what we have at the end of the year.
right.
Not spent
Yeah.
it. So there's some uncertainty.
I'd like to say in support of the suggestion of $500 that Shutesbury has a fair number of people involved in Village Neighbors as members and as volunteers too, I believe. So we are, contributing towards, we are contributing towards what's good for a number of Shutesbury citizens. It is another way to contribute to Shutesbury elders, who are people who aren't necessarily involved in the library run programs or foot clinic. So it extends our reach.
Sounds good.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Do we want to
I move that we send Village Neighbors $500.
I think as a matter of discussion, they're asking for an annual contribution commitment, if I understand this correctly.
Do we have to do that?
I don't know.
and I when we made the transfer, that was there was a clear rationale for that. Meaning Gail Weiss could, there was a reason for that money because it had been allocated to the Aging in Place Task Force. And I know, I just, as the person that, submits the requests for payment to Gail, I know that we have Nancy Spittle's word that this is an okay thing to do per EOEA. Anyway, it's just, normally we have an invoice, we have a something, and normally we wouldn't be donating money as a town entity, and this is a donation. And I'm not trying to muddy the water here, but it just, I started to think, okay, all right, now how am I going to do this? How do we,
So is that a question for Gail Weiss, or
I think,
should I contact Nancy Spittle and see what Wendell is doing, or that's a very legitimate question, is how do you just make a donation?
Right, and Wendell's people may think it's okay. I just don't know if our Shutesbury officials, our Shutesbury financial team will, agree with this, because it's not like a membership, like if we had a membership in MCOA, then, that's a nonprofit organization, we're having a membership. I don't know. So I guess I need to ask.
Okay.
I need to ask Becky first.
So this is Gomberg. Can I say I withdraw the motion to give Village Neighbors 500?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, hang on a second. You can withdraw, obviously you can withdraw the motion, Susan, but I think that this is something that we need to continue to discuss, and because I think it would be helpful if Village Neighbors would give us the numbers of Shutesbury people who are involved. That would be an important piece of information to provide to the town. I mean, Village Neighbors is no longer charging. They did request $50 for membership.
Mhm.
And they're not doing that now. So they're providing services for members, Village Neighbors members in this town free.
Mhm.
And we would be donating to help to show our appreciation for their support for our seniors.
Right, I totally get it. I totally get it. It's, the fact is that it is a donation,
I hear you.
and I don't believe the town can donate money.
Yeah, it's a technical question. It's not a matter of us not wanting to support Village
So-
Neighbors.
So, but I'm trying to suggest ways that we could present it. So maybe we ought to ask Village Neighbors if we could be considered a contributing member. If we could have an official status so that it wouldn't be a donation, but a membership fee.
That would involve changing their structure.
Well, maybe they should do that. Or should consider doing that. I mean,
Well-
I think it's pretty iffy for them to sort of do away with the membership fee completely.
Yeah, that was their decision. I mean,
It was their decision, yeah.
so if it's okay with everyone, I'll ask the questions.
Okay.
Sure.
Give a
Can
report.
Joanne ask Nancy Spittle how they handle it in Wendell also?
I can do that, yes.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I will ask Nancy Spittle. Linda will talk to Becky and possibly Gail Wise.
Yes,
And we will take this up at the next meeting.
yep.
I think we're agreed that we would like to contribute, but we need to know what mechanism is legal.
Yep.
Right,
Or is within Shutesbury's way of doing.
right, guidelines, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
This is Janice. So before Susan Gomberg withdrew her motion, I had been thinking it was a little premature because of all sorts of reasons, one of which is the question about the census and whether we can afford to do this easily or not. Is Village Neighbors needing a response? I'm looking down on the agenda where it says Village Neighbors letter of support request, which I assume is what we're talking about now.
Yeah, we somehow got, yeah, skipped ahead.
Yeah, well, or maybe that should have been skipped backward, but
I think it's a
do we need
different topic.
response from us, or can we just let this ride?
I think that's a different topic. Linda, isn't it a different?
Yes,
topic?
yes, it is a different topic. Yes,
Never
Okay.
mind.
different topic.
It's
Thank
not the money, yeah,
Thanks for helping me remember that. Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Janice, thank you for sending out your notes for the annual report. It's wonderful. I don't know how you get that much data from our meeting, and I don't think we had a June meeting, so.
That was driving me nuts. I don't remember why we didn't.
No, we
didn't have
didn't.
any business, we decided, as I recall.
I thought I just missed something and was worried. So these are just stuff I pulled out of the minutes. So it's really Susan Millinger and your corrections or additions to the minutes over the year that you're seeing there. I took on too many things at a time when not realizing that my body was going to say, the heck with that. I'm running behind in a lot of areas, and that's why I didn't write a nice narrative like I did last year. But I also did have at least one question about the Celebrate Shutesbury, and maybe it's not important, but if you guys saw things that are missing or wrong, because I might have misinterpreted the minutes, I just wanted you to have this, and then I can try to pull it together.
Thank you, Janice. I didn't notice anything that was missing or incorrect. Really appreciate the time you took to list out month by month what what was going on.
So the question for September is, I was not here for Celebrate Shutesbury. I believe Linda was at a table with other town folks, or maybe you weren't at the table, but
I think we put out copies of the Gazette.
okay.
I don't think we had membership there.
No,
There was a town table, right? There was a town table?
yeah. And so we didn't,
And at one point I was trying to make a printout of our webpage, but I don't remember if that happened or if that I'm thinking of a previous year. It's all blurred.
That might have been it. I think there was something that we contributed to the table.
Okay.
I
Maybe,
think there was a printout of the webpage now.
yeah, yeah.
A
Yeah.
screenshot. Okay. So it wasn't just
Long ago.
what?
Seems so long ago.
Yes, exactly.
Every day is a week, right?
You know, it's just funny to think about it. Like, when was that?
Galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so that was the only question I remember having. I started this list 2 meetings ago. The other thing I remember is the minutes did not mention the passing of Andy Fairfield. And I know we said something about him, that in the Gazette. Should that be in? He was not a member of our COA. Should there something be said about him?
Yes, because he was a Medride driver.
Okay, great.
He
Now
was
you're
a
giving me
Medride
the.
driver, and he
And
helped
A
with
regular at lunch.
the lunch.
Well, if in that case, though, if we lost anybody who ever came to our lunches, would we be mentioning them in the annual report?
No, no, but I think Andy was really a regular. We have people who drop by once or twice, but Andy came almost all the time.
Yes.
He also,
And I think the Medride driver is the important piece.
Yeah, so I can say something about that because I'd feel bad talking about David Wheeler's passing and not mentioning Andy at all. So.
and Andy was a regular volunteer when we were folding the newsletter.
Yeah, that's right.
That's, you know,
It was a big job.
really important contribution.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Janice.
Any other questions for Janice?
Oh, you're hard to hear, Joanne.
Oh, I said, are there any other questions for Janice?
Not for me.
Are we good to move on? Okay, so we have workshop reports, and Susan is number 1 on that list, right? From having been put off for 2 months or so.
Well, in case you all didn't get around to me, I wrote something up. So if you would prefer to do the others, then if there's not time for me, I can send around my report. Whatever you think.
When was your meeting?
It was in September.
Uh-huh.
Wait, no, I think it was in October. Where's my text? I believe it was October.
That's the one where I didn't get the link because I was going to go to that too.
Yeah, there were 2 meetings, but you went to the longer one the year before.
Yeah, but that's not this one.
No, but I think you probably got more information out of it. Yeah, it was October 7th.
Okay.
So does that mean you want me to do a brief report?
Yeah, I would like to hear.
Sure.
Okay, there was an article on the program in LifePath, which is, and I'm happy, I will send the, if you want me to, I will send the link around so you can track down the article if you'd like to in your spare time. The article is written by the new age-friendly program manager, who I don't think was around in this last December 19 when Janice went to the event. And there's a lot of sort of basic background, which you probably don't need to know, that it was initiated by the World Health Organization, the program, and in the States, it's organized by AARP. There are about 70 communities, age-friendly communities in Massachusetts, which was the second state to join in the US. And Deerfield is the only age-friendly community in Franklin County at present, unless things have changed since October. LifePath has a grant to initiate and coordinate age-friendly work in Franklin County and the North Quabbin. And what they are talking about is a 3 to 5 year project with 4 stages: enrollment, conducting surveys to assess needs, creating an action plan, and implementation. This program is very much town-based. In order to participate, the select board has to write an official letter of commitment. And after that, you can be accepted into the program. LifePath has been looking, they're going to construct action teams for each community. And actually, they are encouraging communities to work together so that it wouldn't be one town, but several smaller towns who might be working for an age-friendly community. And they want people on the teams who represent different aspects, diverse aspects of town life. Town officials, COA, business communities. We don't have a business community, and just people from the community who are interested. LifePath is planning to integrate dementia-friendly communities into this, which Joanne, you might have encountered when you went to the dementia-friendly workshop. It's the AARP's 8 domains of livability, which include housing. Okay, so that's for the content. And my response was that it's hard to think about adding something else to the task load of our select board. And this is something that's very much intended to have town support. And I also was concerned about the possibility of working with other communities, because that doesn't always seem to be the most effective way to get things done. So I guess I had some doubts about it, and it was intensified by the fact that this new program manager did not appear as a very effective group leader. He asked a series of questions that nobody wanted to respond to. And he divided us up into small groups and didn't really allow us enough time to actually function as a group and talk together and identify issues. So I pretty much felt it was a waste of time, meeting itself. And I just worry about the program, as I've indicated, in terms of, asking for a town commitment. I guess I'd like to know more about it when it gets going in other towns. And it may have accomplished a lot between the October meeting I went to and this time 2 months later. They were looking for every town to have an age-friendly champion, and they were expecting people to volunteer to be age-friendly champions. And I don't know, I'm not going to volunteer.
Yeah, what the goals are?
The goals are to make more age-friendly communities, and if you subscribe to AARP magazine, you've probably seen articles in it on a regular basis about age-friendly communities, usually pretty good-sized towns. They emphasize walkability, They emphasize opportunities for seniors to have jobs, to do community service, to be active. There are 8 livability domains. 3 of them are the built environment, build housing, transportation, and the natural world, interaction with the natural world. And then the other 5 are all social environment, respect and social inclusion, civic participation and employment, communication and information, community and health services, and social participation. So those are the things they're hoping to accomplish. And they're hoping that they're expecting that different communities will have different responses. You know, how much actual help they would be in terms of us getting senior housing, for example, I do not know. Because the grant is to get as many communities started as possible, I think, in this area, or to get people at least thinking along these lines. That would be something that would be useful to know. And if they could help us in any way with transportation, which is clearly a need for us.
You know, we have, I just noticed that, I don't know where it went, that LifePath is having another introductory program for age-friendly communities coming up on the 17th.
Okay. I hadn't noticed that yet.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, somebody else could go if they want to see what's happening.
Yeah, it's the 17th, Thursday, the 17th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Age and dementia. Oh, this is age and dementia friendly communities is the topic. It's going to provide an overview of the age-friendly communities movement and explore ways in which our systems and policies can better serve the needs of older adults. The second part will focus on the reframing aging research conducted by the Frameworks Institute and how it can advance our work and reshape our conversations about older adult needs. And it's being presented by Noir
Yeah, that's him.
Grouch.
He's the program manager
Okay.
for the age-friendly communities.
Yep. So if anyone's interested, I can forward that to you.
I could probably find it at the LifePath website too.
Yep. Yep. So anyway.
Find the goals to be, I mean, there's such a difference between a very small town and large communities in Massachusetts. You know, people with buildings and staff and, you know, and money for transportation and all kinds of things like that. You know, when I was looking at all the grant information, you know, things like Boston and Cambridge and Worcester and where they have a lot of resources that we don't have. I think it's very different in places like that where they have, you know, a structure to put things into place. And we don't even know how to get in touch with our seniors at this point, except by the town rolls in the, you know, mail.
Yeah, and you know, we have a big senior population for sure, but we don't, how many of them are involved in COA programs even?
Very few. I mean, maybe 100 out of, I think we send out 500 newsletters, which is according to their age. Linda, is that right? On the,
yeah, 55 and older.
Yeah, 55 and older. And you know, the numbers that we gathered for the EOEA were maybe 100 people all together with all the the fitness classes, the luncheon, the foot clinic, the med ride, which of course is lower this year than it would normally be. But we're in such a different circumstance at the moment. So I think if I attend this meeting and become myself a little more clear on what they're trying to do, because the housing meeting that Linda and I attended also was excellent, but I don't know if they're coordinating all these things or if they're running at cross purposes, or if these are just ideas. So
you're talking about the age-friendly communities
yeah,
ideas. Yeah, I mean, I'm communicating to you what I learned got out of this meeting, which was very little.
mm-hmm.
And
I'm hoping Janice got more out of
well,
hers.
well, what I was going to say is last December when I went to this age-friendly communities thing, and we had guys, the speakers coming out of Boston to talk to us about it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us, there were little breakout clumps. And some of us smaller, and actually even before we got to the breakout clumps, he was greeted with laughter because so much of what they were talking about did not apply to little towns like Leiden and Shutesbury and,
Yeah.
make the sidewalks more accessible. We don't even have sidewalks.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the kind of stuff. So there was some talk about, and this was in, I think, what I sent out to you guys a year ago, that there's the model in the Berkshires where the little towns like ours are trying to do things together and still not, these pie in the sky things that the Boston folks are saying, oh, but you could do this and this and this. There was an attempt to try to get something, but it wasn't particularly helpful in terms of like grants and things at that moment anyway.
Okay.
I'm not willing to go back and listen to that again right now.
Well, I'll listen to it, and we don't need to make any decisions about anything, right?
No, but you may come away with a different perspective than I did.
Yeah.
Or me.
Okay. I'm game.
Okay. I sent you the information, Joanne.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so Susan M. and I at different times both attended the dementia friendly workshop, right, Susan?
Yep.
I don't have dates for when I attended it. It was this fall sometime. And you did it before that, right?
Right.
Okay. Nancy Spittle from Wendell was the convener. It was a Zoom meeting. I found it to be informative, although a little thin. There were some very helpful things. And I mean, some of the content was helpful to me. I don't know in terms of any action going forward that there's anything, to report on. Just in terms of understanding the personal trajectory that people are on when they are affected by dementia. But that seemed to be more, to me, to be more a personal thing than a community thing. I don't know. What do you think, Susan?
I agree. I mean, I also found it personally informative. But Nancy Spittle would like to do dementia cafes. So
Can't do anything, no.
No.
Yeah.
But did she mention that in your session?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We were already in, in COVID mode, so the possibility of getting together isn't something that could happen. I would like to have learned more about the biology, the actual medical things. what's the word? See, I'm searching for words now. I'm too old.
You mean like the physiology? Is that?
Yeah, the physiology, like what actually goes on in the brain. How can we understand this? You know, I had always thought that dementia and Alzheimer's were separate, but you know, she made clear that Alzheimer's was one form of dementia and there were other forms of dementia. So it all kind of falls under the category of dementia, which that was helpful. And there was one example where she had a picture of a bookcase with you know, books on all the shelves and showing how as the diseases progress, the top bookshelf is emptied and then the next one and the next one. And when you get down to the bottom, all that's left is emotion.
Oh,
And that was very helpful to me in understanding how people respond to people with dementia, that the emotional component is really, really important. So that was very helpful. There was an evaluation at the end, which I found to be had kind of leading questions that I ended up not filling it out because the evaluation really annoyed me, because it really wanted to lead you in a direction and it wasn't objective. So, but on the whole, I think that the presentation was very informative. I'm done.
thank you, Joanne.
And she provides a PowerPoint, and it would be, which is what we saw. Yes, Joanne, the PowerPoint.
There was a worksheet,
Yeah, there was a worksheet.
a workbook, information session workbook
Yeah.
that I printed out that I have.
Yep, I did one. I did too. But
Yeah.
the PowerPoints are things that really are useful.
Mhm.
I remember the bookshelf was very helpful. Yeah.
Okay, Linda, do you want to talk about the housing workshop?
Sure, if everybody's good. Let's see, let me just get my notes. Oh gosh, it's hard to believe that this was in October 21st. And Joanne and I attended this virtual workshop that was sponsored by FERCOG. And there were folks there from Valley Community Development, Hilltown CDC, and the Massachusetts Housing Project as well. It was fast-paced, timely, very organized and informative, and had a good amount of depth. So it was very well worth my time.
Mhm.
I think you probably feel the same.
I
Joanne.
do.
It was very good.
It was too fast and too deep to take notes on was the problem.
Yeah, it was it was really informative. So they talked about various projects, existing projects, and projects in process, and really the 5 areas, which was about site, the need, you know, various aspects of what you're looking for in a site, and whether, you know, to not be attached to a particular site when you're starting out. And they talked about the various projects that the individual presenters represented and their searches for sites. Then they really emphasized the need for local champions and volunteers. So this was all about, you know, people in the community who really wanted to move forward to see senior housing built in their community, and that those people, what the presenter said was that they grabbed hold and would not let go and were persistent throughout, and so that you'd have this core group of people, but you also needed a wide representation in the community and people with diverse perspectives and opinions about senior housing. The other areas were, that you would be planning a project that had a viable scale, and that you had a realistic timeline. Anyways, there was a lot. Like Joanne said, it was really, really in depth and very informative. They did talk about community surveys, and when you have a community survey, one of the goals is differentiating between people who are supportive of senior housing and those who are ready and interested in living in senior housing. That those were kind of two areas that you, if and when we decide to do a survey, that you'd be having the questions, focused on that, because there are people who are interested in senior housing, seeing that perhaps in their community, but they may not see that as part of what they are interested in for themselves. And that the populations in a community can be people who are in a position, who are renting and could more easily move into senior housing. Then there are the people who own homes and where it's more complicated for them to sell a home and move into senior housing, even though that may be what they want. It's a more protracted process. And then there are the children of aging parents who may want their parents to come and live in their town, in senior housing in their town. So anyway, that is just like a bit of what we learned. It really was so informative. They talked about, as I said, they went into depth about funding, planning, planners, designers, that most senior housing programs are independent living, and people have services provided to them that they have related to their unique needs. Like someone might have Meals on Wheels. Someone else might have a need for physical therapy or a visiting nurse, or those kinds of services that would, come in just as they would into our own homes. They would be provided on an individual basis. Most of the housing units in rural towns don't have a staff person, whereas in larger, just like we touched on with age-friendly communities, larger urban areas may have a staff person in the senior housing. So in a nutshell.
They also, after the fact, a while after the fact, got back to us and said that all those presentations are archived.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So we can go back and revisit them if we want to. I was actually hoping we might get the PowerPoint pages, which have the bullet points of all the things that they talked about. But we can go back and revisit that if when we are ready to move ahead.
Yes.
So these are open to any person to read, to consult?
I don't know.
Yeah, I
Because
don't.
sometimes you get stuff that's sort of just intended for people that attended.
We'll look into that.
Yeah.
Sounds as though this was a really valuable event.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. There was a whole series of workshops, sponsored by FERCOG and the Massachusetts Housing Program. We just chose the one that was important to us.
Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah, it was really good. So like Joanne said, when we're ready, we have some tools, and all the people that presented would be resources as well to ask questions of.
Interesting in, is it Sunderland, right? Where they're going to be building a project, but it's going to be not individual housing, but a big complex with apartments.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
they've been working on, and they have an architectural firm and things like that. But the other thing was that they said it took them, what, Linda, 10 years?
Something like that, 9 years, and
Yeah.
Goshen, let's see, I was looking at this yesterday. You think I could remember specifically my notes. Anyway, Goshen was 8 years. And yes, Sunderland, something like 9, from the time they started to when they expect to live in. And I had forgotten that Sunderland is more of an apartment complex.
One big building.
One big building, yes.
Multi-story?
Two stories? Is it
2 stories, 3, I'm not sure.
3? I can't remember. I can have a vision of the building, but yes, it was different than the other ones in the smaller towns, which are the
Or individual
Yeah.
apartments,
little cottages connected to one another.
duplexes, things like that. So this is what the importance of having determined people who can carry through for 8 or 9 or 10 years on a project like this, which it takes that long apparently to get it all done. That's a really important factor, to get that kind of commitment from the town and from volunteers, and something to think about as we go forward.
Yes, because the one like Goshen, they showed in the PowerPoint, they showed a map of all the different sites that they looked at. So their site selection process was quite involved, whereas Sunderland seemed to come together quite easily. They had someone donate, or someone who was willing to sell a parcel, and it was very perfectly located. So
But nothing, in terms of things being within walking distance, I think with Goshen, they're within walking distance of the center of town, which probably, kind of like Shutesbury, consists of a town hall, a post office, and a library.
they're right across the street from the town. Yeah.
Was Goshen the community that housing that we studied, that we read about?
Yes.
Goshen was one of them.
I thought
Yeah.
it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also learned, just anecdotally, we learned that this was an interesting part, was that when it came down to it, I think there was only one person from Goshen that was ready and willing to move in, which is why they had a lottery for people from other applicants to fill the building.
Wow.
The units, yeah.
Okay, so we have about 15 minutes, and we have the newsletter and the village neighbors letter of support to cover.
Can we do the village neighbors letter of support quick? I hope. Okay, so we received an email back in October, but of course we didn't meet in November, from Elizabeth Fernandez O'Brien, and they are writing cultural council grants for an online writing group given by a woman named Ruth Floor. And it's a writing group. The explanation is, I mean, basically they cut and pasted the woman's, just a little of her background. It doesn't really say anything specific about this particular writing group. But, it sounds like it's a she has done work, writing groups, memoir, creative writing, academic writing, and poetry. So they're looking for a letter of support from the Council on Aging to say we could see the benefit of a writing group. That's,
Could you spell her last name,
oh,
please?
sure. It's FLOHR.
Oh my, thanks.
Yeah, actually what I can see again in the small print, they're seeing this as a mental health booster. That this writing group as a mental health booster.
Or COVID.
They don't, I asked Elizabeth for a little more detail and she really didn't provide it. As again, they just really cut and pasted from like a grant application without a specific description of what this group is for, but they're calling it a mental health booster writing group, essentially.
Do we know what their deadline is for the grant application?
So the grant, originally it was sometime in November, but then I received a notice from Elizabeth saying that their deadline is the 15th of December.
Which is next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
Linda,
so-
what they're asking for is the Council on Aging to support their application for a grant to have a meeting, a workshop with this woman?
Yeah, what they're asking is for what's called a letter of support, meaning the Shutesbury COA, supports the Village Neighbors grant application for mental health booster writing workshop.
So I'm sorry, is this an ongoing workshop? Not a one-shot deal, but something that repeats?
It is an online forum, 6 weeks.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Not knowing much about grant writing, why would they need a letter of support from us?
That is a standard procedure when you're writing a grant application, is that you would seek letters of support from the constituents who may participate in the program.
Oh, thank you.
So, Millinger, I guess I would say, yes, let's do it. I mean, here again, this isn't costing us any money, and it is an opportunity. I'm sure there are lots of people around Shutesbury who are writers or interested in writing, and people tend to like writing groups. I know my brother's in one in his retirement community. So I think it's a nice idea, and if it worked well, I'm sure they could. If the writing group got started under this woman, they could continue on their own if they enjoyed what they were doing.
Yeah. And Janice says that I know my mother-in-law, when she was still living in Amherst, regularly went to a writing group at the senior center in the Mag Center. And there were different kinds, and some of them were memoir writing groups. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And I agree that, this request for support from COAs and other outfits like us is pretty standard, because community development block grants also want letters of support from the constituencies or those who serve the constituencies.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I would support it.
So,
Linda, if you I'll draft something if you can send me the information that Elizabeth sent you.
Okay,
Okay.
yep. I'll forward you the email because I did ask her further leading questions, but I didn't get I didn't get specific answers back. So I will forward that to you right now, Joanne.
Okay.
And
And would people want me to send a draft around to everyone?
Yeah.
I
No?
don't think there's so little time.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
just send it back to Linda then. And
so I'll make a motion that that we write a letter of support for the Leaders Local Cultural Council grant for mental health booster online form writing workshop, and that we Joanne will draft the letter of support.
got that, Susan?
Not precisely. Let me read back what I have for you in a minute, okay?
Okay.
While Susan's doing that, Susan Miller, this is Janice. I'm going to guess that this particular grant, they have to talk about mental health boosters or something. It must be part of the, I don't know, the criteria.
Yeah.
Okay, the motion, can I
Is-
read the motion that I have?
Zoom
That
format?
we,
Yeah, probably.
that we write a letter of support for Village Neighbors application for a cultural council grant for a mental health blank writing workshop. And
Mental
that
health booster online form
Booster.
writing workshop.
booster,
Booster.
okay, for an online, yeah. And that Joanne is going to draft the letter.
And we need a second, correct? I'll second. Janice will second.
So shall we have a roll call vote?
Mhm. Bernhard, aye.
Janice Gray, aye.
Millinger, aye.
Domberg, aye.
And Davis got aye. Thank you, everybody. I was just really wanting to be able to get that taken care of.
Okay. The only topic we haven't considered is the newsletter. And maybe since we're about out of time, we should table that since we really have nothing to send to anybody at this point.
One thing that Janice and I talked about a little bit, because we were talking about the Our Town newsletter, is, and we can talk about this next time, is about the maybe creating some sort of a digest that we would send out as a town announcement. You know, with bits of information, because things come in to our email that could be helpful to people to know about. And so I've been thinking about this, you know, maybe, you know, every once in a while, sending out a town announcement with just, you know, can be information that would be helpful to anyone who might have an older person in their life. So anyway, that's a thought that I had about that. So maybe we can talk about that next time as well.
Okay.
In lieu of putting together a whole newsletter, this would be a way to get the word out to people. And we will have an upcoming newsletter, town newsletter, so we can put things in there too.
Do we know when the next town newsletter goes out, Janice?
I don't know. This was going to be brought up with the select board and
Yeah, so
last night.
So Janice and I were talking about that, as I said, and I spoke with Becky, and we'll convene at the beginning of January, the three of us, Janice, and we'll
This is
get,
news to me.
yeah, I know. But anyway,
This just happened, folks. This is breaking news here.
this is just, you know, this is not, you know, anyway, we'll be thinking about when it's going to come out, probably sometime in February, most likely, well, most likely in February, at some point. Yep.
Okay, so if we discuss this at the next meeting, if people can think about what might be included in something like this, maybe we can get ahead of the newsletter.
Janice nods. The idea was not to try to get out a newsletter at the end of January when everything is so up in the air in general in this country and in this state and in this town.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why we're not following our usual routine for timing for our town newsletter.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea
Mhm.
to send out a town announce with information, useful information. So this is for our next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Have we concluded?
Yeah. So our next meeting would be the 13th of January.
Okay. And at that meeting, I will report on the December 17th Age and Dementia Friendly Communities meeting that I will attend. And Janice will have fed her cat.
That's my cat.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, my cat was in the office briefly and has
Oh.
disappeared.
My cat was around earlier.
He just came up and meowed. Enough already.
It's dinner time. Come on, feed me. Okay, so what time are we adjourning?
7 o'clock.
Yeah, on the dot.
All
Yeah.
right. Good to see everybody. Susan Gomberg, good to hear your voice.
Do we need
Thank
a
you.
motion to
We
adjourn?
have to
Here,
vote.
everybody.
Wait, don't leave yet.
We have to vote.
We need to
On
make it
this.
official. I move that we adjourn our meeting.
Second.
At 7 o'clock.
Okay. Bernhard, aye.
Janice, aye. Janice Gray, aye.
Millinger, aye.
Gomberg, aye.
Well, this is good to hear Susan Gomberg's voice and see everybody else. And we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
I like,
Right.
is this a goose with a hat? Is this a
Over
goose?
here, you know what this is?
Yeah, yeah.
So I know you can't, this is a painted goose. My grand aunt Mabel was well, she was a very creative woman. And so she painted this, and if you can kind of see, there's some hooks on the side. And so when I was growing up, my two sisters and I had the same bedroom, and we used to hang our pajamas on this.
Oh,
Oh,
that's great.
Mother Goose.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And so she's painted kind of, you can't really, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see these, she's painted it in with she was Swedish. And so she painted it with
oh,
Swedish motifs.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
And that's a little hat, the green, is that a little green hat?
Little hat on, yes. Yes.
Sort of a tam.
Yes. So anyway, yes.
Well, good to see everyone.
Yes. Bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Good to see everybody. Have a happy holiday, everybody.
Take
Everybody.
care. Take good care.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.